Good morning, world. Welcome to another episode of Cedric and Brian. This is the second week of July.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. We've got a lot to talk about. A lot happening in the news again, right?
Yes, absolutely so. And I'll just say really quick, for those of you who have been watching our channel lately, thank you again. Our hats off to you for our subscriptions exploding through the roof. And if you haven't told your friends about us, keep sharing it with us. What's on tap today, Brian?
We got lots to do. We got, of course, another shooting.
Another shooting in Detroit.
Another shooting. We got the cancellation of the name Redskins with the Washington Redskins. We got some more funny AOC stupidity.
Yes, yes indeed.
We could do a show every day probably just on that.
I know, let's start doing that.
And then, what else we got? I think we got, and then just some general comments of stuff that happened during the week.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Cedric.
And I'm Brian, and this is Cedric and Brian. We're going to have some light subjects, obviously some heavy subjects. Let's start off light because it's always good comedy relief. So AOC, that is, what does that AOC stand for again? Alexandria Ocasio
Or Cortez.
Cortez, I think. Anyway, AOC, main member of the squad. Well, she had her theory of why crime is up.
So why is this uptick in crime happening? Well, let's think about it. Do we think this has to do with the fact that there's record unemployment in the United States right now? The fact that people are at a level of economic desperation that we have not seen since the Great Recession? Maybe this has to do with the fact that people aren't paying their rent and are scared to pay their rent. And so they go out and they need to feed their child and they don't have money. So you maybe they're put in a position where they feel like they either need to shoplift some bread or go hungry that night.
So her theory is that because unemployment is up, that people are out there probably having to feed their families, so they're out stealing bread.
That's weird, because growing up, I can't remember my dad ever stealing to feed us.
Not only that, but have you looked in the news? Is that what the crime wave is?
No.
Is it bread stealing?
It's not bread stealing.
Because as we're going to see later, it is a lot of violent crime.
A lot of violent protesting, rioting, stealing.
And the stealing is for shoes, Target. I don't think there was one report of anybody stealing bread.
No essentials?
Yeah, it wasn't essential.
No food, no clothing, no shelter.
TVs, I think, some kicks.
The essentials.
Yeah. So,
essentials.
Again, look it up for yourself. I know that...
and this is why we should defund the police, because if we take the police out of these areas...
Exactly.
Then the crime will go down.
Yes, exactly. It's not because the police are being defunded. It is because of unemployment. Although unemployment's been higher in the past and people didn't steal TVs.
It's a damn shame.
Yes, it is a damn shame. Speaking of that, check out our store where you can get a Cedric t-shirt or mask that says, "It's a damn shame."
Is that what it says?
Yeah, yours, there's not to be racist here, but the black shirt says, "It's a damn shame." The white shirt
that was a damn shame. What did you just say?
White shirt says, "Good morning, world."
We segregated our taglines.
Exactly. Actually, I'm going to commingle those.
Oh, wow.
But the first subject, after we got that nonsense out of the way, was another tragedy that happened in Detroit. And you just spoke with an officer there, so why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. For those who haven't heard about it, Hakeem Littleton, a 19-year-old black gentleman in Detroit, Michigan, was fatally shot today. It was today. We're filming this on Monday. Was fatally shot today by a police officer.
This past weekend, I think.
By a police officer. And here's the weird thing about it. I'm trying to be serious about this, but at the same time, it's really starting to get on my nerves, is that there are protests, and there's probably going to be riots soon in the streets again. And if you haven't checked out the story, please check it out. Hakeem Littleton was shot protecting his friend who willfully gave himself up to the police. They were walking together down the street. Police stopped, detained his buddy, put him in cuffs. I don't know if Hakeem Littleton has been watching too many cowboy movies or what, but he decided to play cowboy, took a gun out from his hip pocket, fired shots at the police officer. Luckily, he missed.
This body cam footage appears to show Littleton shooting at an officer and missing before police return fire.
Now, I have to ask you this question. I'm not going to pause too long because hopefully you guys know the answer. What does the cop do in that situation? You fire back. And guys, and here's the thing, Brian touched on it, we kind of laughed about it. You guys, we got to stop watching these superhero movies or super cop movies where people say,
or video games.
Yeah, shoot him in the leg.
Protesters still want answers.
Let him go. Shoot him in the leg. He'll be all right. Do not take somebody's life.
Or shoot the gun out of his hand. Nobody's that accurate. A cop is taught you shoot to end the altercation.
Obviously, there would be zero protests if that cop would have been shot in the head. Zero, I guarantee it. Well, I take that back. There might have been some. Now they're getting more and more protests, peaceful protests of the Back the Blue,
right,
and those things, and those are starting to happen. Those are very peaceful. But this officer and these officers were just responding to somebody shooting at them,
right,
and you still see people outraged, wanting an investigation. Which, of course, there's going to be an investigation, but
right. And again, one thing I want to bring up, we're filming this again on Monday. What's today's date? July
13th or something? Yeah.
Filming July 13th, Monday. I just got off the phone about 30 minutes ago. A good friend of mine, she and her husband recently relocated to Detroit, Michigan. Her husband is a police officer. For obvious reasons, I can't use his name. But I just got off the phone with him about 30 minutes ago. He said, Cedric, on the average, and I know people hate talking about this, but I got to bring it up. There are 220 black-on-black shootings monthly. That's an average of 7 a day.
In Detroit?
In Detroit.
Yeah. That's
220 shootings.
Just Detroit.
Just Detroit. Just not necessarily killings, but 220 a month, 7 a day. So on the average, there is one black male killed by another black male at least once a day. And then we keep bringing the whole BLM thing. They're using the BLM movement to talk about 0.001% of the problem, when the big issue is the black-on-black crime. It's the fatherless homes. It is the dropout rate among blacks. When we start addressing these issues, it's like we're using BLM. It's like bringing a flamethrower to light a birthday candle. It's just too much. It's just too much. And once we start focusing on the real issues, and I can say this, Brian doesn't want to say it, but once black citizens start showing some respect to authority, and it's not an umbrella state I'm talking about in general. Once you start showing respect to authority, I can guarantee that the number of cops killing blacks will go down drastically.
Not only that, but you don't hear, when you do hear, and believe me, the press finds if there is especially if it's a white officer killing a black male, it will find the news. Trust me. When was the last time you heard that it happened with a kid going to church or going to and from school? It's almost, and it may not be, and I know people out there will all find one that goes against your scenario, but most of the time, George Floyd, not a good guy, 7 times in jail. 9 times in jail. The guy from Atlanta, drunk, could have killed somebody on the road. This kid pulls a gun and fires twice at a cop. And we talked about this before, and we said that this isn't a black thing, but obviously Hollywood makes it a black thing, that you have to teach your sons what to do when a police officer goes. Well, guess what? We all get taught.
We all do.
Put your hands up on the steering wheel. Make sure they see your hands. Don't make any sudden moves. Don't fight the cops.
Right. And I've said this before. I've been pulled over at least 6 or 7 times. And the reason I was pulled over 6 or 7 times is because I was speeding. I was breaking the law. And I think I got 1 ticket out of those 6 or 7 times.
You were driving while black.
Right. Well, you've been to jail. I haven't. So let's not forget that.
And so this story brings up, and you'll probably notice that we let Cedric take the lead on a lot of these stories that have to do with race issues, because Brian shouldn't talk about these things because Brian isn't black. Well, why? That statement in itself, in my opinion, is racist. Why can I not make a comment? If I see an armed person, let's take color out of it. I see an armed person pull out a gun and shoot a cop. Why am I not just as okay to talk about that? But for some reason, society says, okay, if Cedric talks about it, it's a little better. It's just a human being who went to go kill somebody that shouldn't have. I mean, you got the thug and the cop. Sorry. So just because the thug happened to be black and the cop was the cop, I don't even know if the cop was white. But so we feel, and we do it because this is a society norm now, Cedric takes the lead on that. But I think that in itself is racist. The fact that I can't talk about two people, one committing a terrible act and one person dying, and it's horrible that he died, but he didn't have to die. If he didn't put his hands in his pocket and pull out a gun, he would be alive. So why don't the protesters out there just say that? Why they should be saying, Hakeem, why did you do that? That should be the question, not why did this cop shoot him? It's like,
Right.
Why did you point a gun at a police officer?
Right. Well, people in general were talking about not having accountability. And then when people say, well, Brian, you can't speak on that because you're white, they, for fear of you might say something that might poke holes in their argument, that's how they keep you from doing that.
Yeah.
So say, well, you can't speak on it because you're white.
And I'm called a racist.
Right.
How could you talk about a black person getting killed? You must be a racist.
And the thing that bugs me is like, personally, I don't think there's anything that's really as the black experience or the white experience or the Hispanic experience. There's the Brian experience, there's the Cedric experience, and now I may experience things because my folks are from the South and the culture and things like that with different foods, but there are, believe it or not, there are white people from the South as well who eat the same foods as well. But I remember a long time ago, someone asked a pointed question and we were playing a little game and said, what do women want? And guys were throwing out answers left and right, and they were all wrong. And guys, I'm not going to charge you for this. Here's the answer to that question, what women want. Find out what your woman wants. Talk to her. I say, what do you want? And then find out what she wants. And there's no all-encompassing umbrella.
I know.
This is what women want.
I know, and I'm glad you touched on that because that was the whole point I was trying to make. How I'm not supposed to talk about it because I don't know the black experience. But just like he said, it's not the black or white or Asian or Hispanic experience. It's everybody has a different experience. I guarantee you that Barack Obama or his daughter's experience as black females is much different than the black experience of a female who might be growing up in the ghetto.
Right.
They're both black, but it's completely different experiences.
Right.
Their experience is more like the rest of the political class.
Privileged?
Yeah, privileged. So you've got the privileged experience, and the privilege, and this is what kills me about LeBron James. Okay, LeBron, your experience is nothing like mine. I mean, please, oppress me with all those millions of dollars. I mean,
with your personal chef and your personal trainer.
Yeah. And I guess he has a white gardener and I guess he likes to have the white people working for him.
Terrible.
So I'm sorry, LeBron, for your oppression. So I don't have your experience. You are absolutely right. I don't even know how to begin to know what that experience might be like.
And there's some things I haven't experienced. I was talking to a good friend of mine about this 2 weeks ago, and she was talking about she's a widow and losing her husband. Yeah. And she's like, Cedric, you will never know what it's like. You don't know what it's like to lose someone to death. I said, you're absolutely right. I don't. Have I lost people to death? Yes. But not someone as close to me as a spouse. And I hope I never know that experience. But I have lost people.
Yeah.
And like you said, it was a good point. Once we start having more respectful people, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, I'm not going to put a color in front of it. The cops don't want to do. I think the last thing most cops want to do is when they leave the house that day and say, gee, hope I can pull out my gun and shoot someone. They want to come back home to their wives and kids just like we do. And they just want, they love to, and we see those stories where they stop and shoot baskets with the kids or at the skate park or jump rope. And I tell my kids this, whether my personal kids or my students, you're going to be who you are in the next 5 years based on three things: the books you read, the music you listen to, and the people you associate with. That's why I have no fear of ever being shot by a police officer, because I don't foresee myself stealing any bread from the local store.
Yes, to feed your family.
Or doing anything wrong.
You must be watching those old French movies or something. What was it, Les Mis? Right. I mean, we're living in rat-infested things where you have to steal some bread to feed the family. And the other thing that Cedric was talking about with the police, obviously they don't want to do that. And then people think, because they do watch these superhero things, they think that these police are like superhuman, and why do they have to do that? And like Cedric said, they can't aim for a foot. Right. Not to mention, do you think these cops aren't scared? How many of their fellow officers have walked up to a car and been shot in the face?
Right.
I mean, they go into these situations not knowing, especially right now, where cops are literally being hunted. I mean, if you want to talk about being hunted, that's who's being hunted.
Cops are being hunted.
So they're going into these situations not knowing what's going on. So if somebody pulls a gun on an officer and you expect him to, say, please put that down, or, I'm going to shoot that out of your hand.
Hold on, let's de-escalate the situation.
Yeah, I mean,
Put
it's
the gun
just
away.
silly. And then when I was telling Cedric about this story, he was getting so upset when I said, yeah, you should see all the protests going on. And he just, this look on his face. And what did you say? You said, you said something like, this is just getting...
Did I curse?
You did curse. and I mean, you were sad.
Did I say it's a damn shame?
Yeah, but you just look so sad.
Well, I know what's coming next, especially in this day and age that we live in. I know white cop shoots black kid. Here come the protests.
Yeah.
And like Brian said, everyone looks at what the white cop did. But if the black kid or the white kid or the Hispanic kid wasn't doing something wrong, it would have never escalated to that point. Yeah. In 99.9% of all cases, it's because the victim or the perp was doing something he or she shouldn't be doing. Had nothing to do with the color of their skin.
Yeah. I know. Shall we end with something fun?
You can try.
It's fun and sad at the same time. I don't know if you've heard. I'm sure you'll have heard by the time we release this. But what's the owner of the Redskins?
Oh, jeez.
I forget the name of the owner of the Redskins. He's owned them forever. He's finally caved in. He was holding firm. He's finally agreed to get rid of the name of the Washington Redskins.
Because, you know what? And here's the thing. I agree, because there's just something just polarizing wrong and volatile about that word. So I completely agree. They should get the word Washington out of the name.
No, they're getting rid of Redskins. They're keeping Washington.
Oh, I didn't do my research.
I know.
Okay.
Well, Washington is definitely coming next.
Okay.
Because otherwise, because people are triggered, so it's the slave-owning Redskins must be what people are triggered by. But no, the Redskins, so we're trying to come up with some names. I think they've come up with, they're thinking of the Warriors, but then you might get mixed up with the basketball team.
Golden State Warriors.
But I came up with a good name.
Let me hear it.
The Washington, or if you have to take Washington out, just call them the Wokeskins.
The Wokeskins.
The Wokeskins.
The Wokeskins.
Yes.
Yes.
The Wokeskins of the District of Columbia. How's that?
I like that.
Get the Washington out of there. The DC Wokeskins.
This is so dumb. I don't know what to say. I'm kind of speechless for the first
Wait,
time.
wasn't it? Last year was the 100th anniversary of the NFL, and it was amazing that we lasted 100 years without getting rid of these horrible names. Because what's next? Because we're going to have to get rid of
Get
the
rid of the Braves.
Chiefs, Braves.
The Braves.
And then, being of English descent, the Vikings triggers me, because the Vikings used to go in and rape and pillage and murder people throughout England back in the 7th and 8th century. So I think Vikings offends me.
What's the origin of the Browns?
Yeah, I was going to bring up Browns, but I can't talk about that.
No, you can't talk about it. Silence. Oh, there go the Browns.
But
Replace them with the Blacks. Oh, no, that
yeah,
can't be.
there you go. But on the Vikings, also, we have to get rid of the Vikings, Raiders, and Buccaneers. Because the Raiders and the Buccaneers are pirates, and pirates raped and pillaged and murdered.
Yes.
So why is that okay, but we have to get rid of the Redskins? And then in the same thing, you brought up Browns, but what about the Patriots? That just gives you like Trump support, so you can't have that. Patriots, you cannot. We got to.
I thought you were going to because you've always been a Tom Brady hater.
Yeah, well, I just only because he beat the Rams twice.
They should just get rid of the Rams. They should call them something more appropriate, like the Lambs.
Well, what I was going to say is the Rams name is okay, but the new logo needs to be canceled. The new logo is horrible, so go ahead and get rid of that.
Oh,
If the Redskins can change their name, the Rams can get rid of that new logo because it's horrible.
I agree. I'm a Rams fan.
So a good buddy of mine's a Redskins fan, and I had to ask him if he was still going to be a fan.
Oh,
he said yes, and he was coming up with names, but I won't repeat those names.
I want to say
Closer.
something. You may edit this out, but I feel like I want to talk to our audience about what I've been dealing with lately.
Dyslexia?
Yeah, that too. I've had, and I'm gonna call it the opportunity. I've had the opportunity to come under, not under fire, under questioning from friends, close in the past about some of the comments that I have made. Now they haven't come right out and said Uncle Tom or sellout or coon or things like that, but just my opinion on things kind of irks them the wrong way. And I told them, like, hey, I love you. I cherish the friendship. Thank you for calling me out. And I invite all of you to do the same thing. I know a lot of people do that in the comments, but that's what the comment section is for. And like Brian always says, he says it well, this is supposed to be an educational channel where we learn from each other. We have our opinions based on how we were brought up and what we value and what our morals and ethics are. You may have a completely different viewpoint. If you articulate that, just do it in a very mature fashion in the comment section, and we will comment back. But
just calling them names isn't going to work.
yeah, I'm used to that. Get called names all the time.
Besides, he likes the name Uncle Tom. So
Right. But thank you to all my friends and strangers too who have taken the time to say, hey, you know what? Hey, we get a lot of I agree with you. And let's be clear, the reason we get that is because our channel is for a certain customer base. We understand that. But there are some people who watch our channel just to troll and poke holes in our arguments. And I like the TikTok that we did about the two different protests.
Yeah, so
but the media
the media said if you protested the lockdown,
yes,
then you spiked the virus.
Right.
But if you protested Black Lives Matter, then you suppressed the spread.
right.
Which there is absolutely zero facts that go. In fact, if you actually look at numbers, 2 weeks after all those protests, guess when the spike happened?
Right.
It didn't happen 2 months ago when people were actually protesting the lockdown. So,
Right.
but we go check out our TikTok because we talk about the states that they focus on and everything.
I'm excited. I don't know if it's going to be shown tomorrow, but Brian and I had this incredible opportunity to interview a doctor in Newport Beach by the name of Dr. Barkey. And we're going to sit down with him. He is on the up and up in the know about what's going on with this coronavirus, all the myths, all the misconceptions, and the truths. So I think we're going to release that tomorrow. If not, it's going to be released in the next couple of days. So make sure you watch that one, because if you're worried about the spiking, and things are closing down now as we speak. My friend just texted me today and said that they're closing down her hair salon again, and I have to get to the barber shop because that's before that goes away, and the nail salons will be closed. He is going to talk to us and give us the hard, cold facts about what's really going on with this thing, so you don't want to miss it.
Yep. All right.
Anything else, brother?
I think that's it. Let's wrap it up.
Can I call you brother?
You can.
Okay.
I probably can't call you brother.
No, you
though,
can't
right?
call me that.
I can't. Okay.
All right.
I'm
All right.
learning all of this.
All right. We're a learning channel. Well, as we go. Thank you guys for checking us out. We appreciate you. Remember to like, subscribe, ring the bell. And until next time, I'm Cedric.
And I'm Brian. We'll see you later.